Before we start, hit like, subscribe, and share this video with your friends. And tell me, where are you watching from? And what time is it there right now? Thanks. It was just after midnight when I told myself I'd leave in one more hour. The 6th floor was dead quiet, as always on a weekend. Rows of ergonomic chairs stood like skeletons under the office fluorescents. The HVAC hummed softly, and the only real light came from my laptop screen and the glowing red exit sign across the hallway. I had one email left to send and a spreadsheet open. Budget revisions due Monday. My green ceramic mug sat beside me, chipped on the rim. The same mug I'd brought from my last job. The sticky note on my monitor had just 3 digits. 483. A code I didn't want to forget, but couldn't label out loud. The time on my screen blinked 12:27 a.m. Then my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I almost let it go to voicemail. I never answer those. But my hand moved before I thought. Hello? Only breathing. Not heavy, not fast, just there. Hello? I said again, sharper this time, still breathing. Close. Rhythmic. Like they were holding the phone just under their nose. I hung up and told myself it was a misdial. 2 minutes later, the same number lit up my screen again. I answered, trying to sound annoyed. Stop calling. More breathing. This time, each exhale carried a faint rasp, like a whisper through sand. I hung up. My stomach tensed, just slightly, like when you're sure someone's behind you but won't turn to check. The corridor outside my glass wall stayed dark. The motion lights hadn't tripped, which meant no one had moved out there in a while. Then a text came in. I can see you. I stared at the screen. My body locked. A second text followed. Blue sweater. Green mug. Sticky note says 483. Don't look for me. My heart tripped hard. I looked down at myself. I was wearing a blue sweater. My chipped green mug was exactly where I'd left it. And the sticky note on my monitor. It did say 483. I stood so quickly that my chair slid back and knocked against the floor mat. Through the glass wall, the hallway looked empty. Nothing moved. I walked to the office door. From outside, it required a key card. Mine was still clipped to the lanyard around my neck. Locked. Secure. I told myself I needed to reset. Get coffee. Just do one normal thing. The kitchenette was 20 steps away. I took my mug and stepped into the hall. The motion lights blinked on, one zone at a time. The air smelled faintly of old plastic and lemon cleaner. I reached the kitchenette, set the mug beneath the machine, and pressed the brew button. Coffee filled the cup with a slow, familiar gurgle. I looked at the dark window above the sink. It showed my own reflection. Wide eyes, sweater slightly rumpled. I reached up to fix my hair, and then I felt it. A wave of heat across the back of my neck, not from the machine, from someone too close. I turned. A man stood directly behind me. He wore a black zip-up jacket, jeans, and a dark baseball cap. His face was plain, maybe late 30s. His hands were empty. He didn't speak. His eyes moved from my face to my mug, then back up, like he was checking a list. You need to leave, I said. My voice didn't sound like mine, thinner, less certain. He smiled without showing teeth, just a tightening of his mouth. I stepped sideways, slowly, putting the counter between us. Then I ran. His footsteps followed, fast and steady. I bolted down the hallway, yanked the women's restroom door open, slipped inside, and locked it behind me. I backed up until I hit the row of sinks. The overhead light buzzed above. The vent whined faintly. My phone, still on my desk. No way to call for help. I stood there, hands braced on the counter, trying to quiet my breathing. The handle jiggled once, then stopped. Silence. A slow drip echoed from a faucet that never quite sealed. I counted. 60. 100. 200. Every now and then, I thought I heard footsteps again in the hallway. But it might have been the HVAC or the building settling. Sounds you don't notice until you're listening for danger. I checked the lock 3 more times. My heart slowed just enough for logic to creep back in. Maybe he was a contractor. Lost? Confused? I waited until I thought at least 30 minutes had passed. Then I unlocked the door. The hallway was still. The exit sign glowed like a wound in the dark. I stepped out. The motion lights brightened one zone ahead of me. Then another. Nothing moved. I walked back to my desk, scanning the open floor. My phone was right where I left it. 3 new texts waited on the screen. The last one said, "Brave girl." I picked up the phone, and that's when I heard it. Footsteps. Fast. Close. From the copy room. I turned. The blow came hard to the side of my head, a hot, electric pain above my ear. The floor tilted. Ceiling lights smeared sideways. I tasted metal. Papers blurred past my eyes as I fell. Everything snapped dark. When I woke up, the light was different. Softer. Gray. Dawn. A paramedic crouched over me, shining a small flashlight into my eyes. My boss stood nearby, face pale, hands clenched. 2 uniformed officers hovered behind him. I could still hear the HVAC hum. It blended with the soft crackle of the paramedic's radio. My boss spoke in that careful voice people use when they don't want to trigger something. Someone got into the server room. An external drive's missing. A set of master keys, too. Security had noticed a stairwell door ajar on the cameras and sent a guard to check. That's how they found me. Crumpled near the copy room. I told the officers about the man, the calls, the texts, the moment in the kitchen. We walked the hallway together. The dome camera above the kitchenette had been turned to face the ceiling. The camera near the copy room showed smears on the lens, as if someone had wiped it with a palm. The server room door had a clean scratch along the lock. Deliberate, precise. My coffee sat cold on the counter. A torn sugar packet lay beside it. One of the officers nodded. This was planned. He knew the layout, knew the cameras, might have used a contractor badge. They asked who knew I was working late. I said I'd emailed my boss at 8 p.m. and sent a message to our team chat. That seemed to matter more than I realized. They told me to go to the hospital, to expect follow-up calls. They'd pull footage from the lobby and the street. My boss walked me back to my desk while the paramedic filled out a report. He kept saying, "Something important is gone." Like repetition might make it make sense. I nodded. I went home with a folded sheet of paper and a bandage on my head. I slept with the lamp on. In the afternoon, I changed my number. Security sent a building-wide email titled "Incident Update." The cameras caught no clear face. The number that called me was a deadline. No usable fingerprints. Whoever he was, he knew exactly what to look for and exactly when to leave. I still work on the 6th floor. Same desk, same monitor. But now, I keep my phone in my pocket. And there's a new sticky note taped to the screen. Block letters, 3 words. Lock your door. It was 2:58 a.m. when I saw the figure on camera 8. I'd worked security at this warehouse for almost 6 weeks. Night shift. Nothing fancy. A temp job. Paycheck to keep the lights on while I figured my life out. The place sat on the edge of town, where the trees stopped and gravel lots began. The control room was barely bigger than a closet. 2 monitors stacked on a metal desk, a wall-mounted fan that never stopped squeaking, and a coffee pot that always smelled like burnt rubber. Camera 8 covered the far edge of the shipping yard. Just a chain-link fence, a loading dock, and a patch of asphalt the boss always called a blind spot. No one ever walked there. But now, someone was standing right in the middle of it. At first, I thought it was a glitch, a shadow maybe. But the figure was solid, tall, still. They stood dead center in the frame, facing the camera. Not waving, not moving, just watching. The infrared made everything grainy, but I could tell they were wearing something light-colored, maybe gray, and their face was obscured. I leaned in closer. My heart ticked faster. The figure raised a hand slowly, not to wave, not to threaten, just to let me know they knew I was watching. I grabbed the radio. "Dale, you near camera 8's zone?" A crackle. Then his voice. "I'm on the north end." "Why?" "Just check the south dock after your loop." "Copy." I didn't tell him what I saw. Maybe it was just a prank. We'd had kids sneak in once, tagging the dumpster. But this was different. Too still. Too aware. I got up, unlocked the security door, and stepped into the hallway. The overhead fluorescents buzzed with that flickering strobe hum, casting long shadows that danced when I moved. The warehouse always smelled like rubber and dust, with a metallic edge that lingered on your tongue. By the time I reached the south dock, it was empty. Fence still closed. Lock in place. I walked the edge of the loading ramp, checked the corners. No one. Nothing. I turned back toward the control room, telling myself maybe it was old footage or a reflection. Just my mind running ahead of me. But when I sat down again, camera 8 showed the figure back in frame. A different spot this time. Left side. Same posture. Same stare. Then it raised its hand again. Only this time it moved slightly. 2 fingers. A slow peace sign. Deliberate. Like it was mocking me. Or worse, recognizing me. I stood up again, heart thumping. Before I even reached for the radio, something caught my eye on the screen. A dark smudge on the dock, right near where the figure had stood. I ran back, flashlight in hand, and scanned the ground. The air was still. Not even the wind moved. Then, I saw it. An envelope. No name. Just sealed and resting near the step like it had been placed gently. I looked around, half expecting to see someone crouched behind the pallets, waiting. But the yard was empty. I brought the envelope inside and shut the door behind me. My hands were already sweating as I opened it. Inside was a photo. It showed me, sitting in that exact chair, taken through the control room window. The timestamp in the corner said 2:39 a.m., less than 30 minutes ago. I looked at the window. It was tinted, high up, barely visible from the yard. How the hell did they get that shot? Drone, maybe. Or a long lens. My stomach flipped at the thought of someone hovering outside, watching me through the glass while I sipped stale coffee and scrolled weather apps. I shoved the photo into a drawer and called Dale to come inside. I didn't explain. Just said I wasn't feeling great. Needed a minute. When I finally drove home at sunrise, the sky was pale orange, the kind that usually makes things feel better. But it didn't. Because taped to my windshield was a small sticker, a cheap, cartoonish skull in black and white. The same symbol that had been faintly visible on the figure's jacket in the camera feed. The next night, I arrived for my shift early. I brought my own thermos, a flashlight with fresh batteries, and an old GoPro I'd mounted on the dash of my car. I told Dale everything. The figure, the photo, the sticker. He went pale, then shook his head like he didn't want to believe it. "You think it's someone from the inside?" he asked. "I don't know. But they're watching more than just the building." Midway through the shift, 3:06 a.m., the figure returned. Camera 8 again. This time, it wasn't standing. It was kneeling near the dock, holding a piece of cardboard with handwriting on it. I leaned closer. "I see you too." I froze. For once, I didn't go for the door. I didn't grab the flashlight. I just picked up the phone and called the police, my voice barely steady. "There's someone outside," I said. "Same as last night. They left a photo. They're watching us." 2 officers arrived 12 minutes later. We replayed the feed. But by then, the figure was gone. The cardboard sign had vanished too. They searched the grounds, checked the fences, even shined lights up into the trees in case someone had launched a drone. Then one of them, the younger one, turned and said, "Could be remote. Drone, dummy with a speaker, even projection. You'd be surprised what people pull off these days." I wanted that to make me feel better, but it didn't. Because everything they said made too much sense. It meant whoever was doing this didn't need to be near the building. They didn't need to break in. They just needed a line of sight. And time. I quit the job 2 weeks later. It wasn't a dramatic decision. I just stopped sleeping. I kept checking windows, locking doors twice. Even on nights off, I'd catch myself watching the sky for blinking lights or listening for the faint hum of propellers. Dale understood. "No one should feel hunted doing a $10 an hour job," he said. I moved out of my apartment, left town, found a new place, new building, different state. Security everywhere. Badge access. Underground parking. All the modern stuff that's supposed to make you feel safe. I didn't tell anyone where I was going. Months passed. I never saw the figure again. No more messages. No more photos. The silence almost convinced me it was over. Until one morning, heading down the stairs of my new complex, I ran my hand along the rail and felt something stuck beneath. A sticker, worn, peeling, black and white. That same cartoon skull, same as before. I didn't call the police. What would I even say? I peeled it off, folded it in half, and kept walking. But I never touched that handrail again. Some people vanish from your life. Others make sure you know they haven't. Saturday night shifts were usually quiet. Just me, the hum of the air vents, and a deadline. I badged into the office at 8:41 p.m. The scanner blinked green, and the lock clicked. I watched the lights wake up one by one as I moved through the hall. Soft motion sensors, smooth carpet, white noise like static just behind the silence. I texted my manager, "Here till midnight," sending the final audit draft. He replied with a thumbs-up emoji. That was our entire exchange. Around 9:30, I got up for coffee. The kitchenette sat at the end of the hallway, past the copy room and 2 glass-walled conference rooms. The usual smell of citrus cleaner lingered faintly, sharper tonight, like someone had just mopped. Then, I saw it. A folded strip of cardboard, wedged in the door latch from the inside, just enough to keep it from closing completely. We had strict rules against propping doors. Everyone badged in. No exceptions. I hadn't put it there. I pulled it out, tossed it in the trash, and rebadged the door to check the lock. It clicked into place. I stood there a few seconds longer than I meant to, waiting for something else to feel wrong. Nothing did. So I got my coffee and went back to my desk. 10 minutes later, the elevator dinged. The doors opened, then closed. No one stepped out. I turned the volume down on my laptop and listened. Silence. Then, a soft beep. Not mine. A card reader tone, short and low. A failed badge attempt. I opened the building app. The live camera feed for our entrance lobby said, "Video unavailable." That had never happened before. I stood up slowly, and walked toward the conference room nearest the front door. Its frosted glass wall gave me a perfect view of the hallway without being seen from the outside. A shadow moved across the door. A man's outline. He wore a navy blue shirt, standard for maintenance, but jeans instead of work pants. He leaned in and cupped a hand against the glass, as if trying to see inside. Another beep. This time the tone was higher. Accepted. The handle turned slightly. He tried once, then stopped. I held my breath. He stood there for several seconds, listening. Then he walked away, toward the elevators. I stepped back into the server closet across the hallway. Small room. No windows. Just a red emergency bar that triggered a building-wide alarm if pressed. I texted my manager. Someone just tried the front door. I'm locking myself in. He replied instantly. Call me. Now I did. Hands shaking. He walked me through it like a fire drill. Lock the doors. Stay away from glass. Keep the alarm bar within reach. I followed everything. My breath evened out slightly. The building was quiet again, until the stairwell door opened on the other side. The metal door clanged softly, its echo rolling down the hallway. Our copy room had a second entrance, one that connected to the stairwell. Fewer people used it, mostly cleaning staff. To badge in from that side, you needed multi-level clearance. I pulled up the camera feed for the stairwell. It showed nothing. Blank. Either offline or pointed away. The lights in my row were still on. I turned them off and moved quietly into an interior office. No windows, one solid door. I locked it and sat on the carpet with my back pressed against the bottom edge. The hallway outside smelled like old paint and floor wax. My pulse thumped hard in my ears. I texted again. He's using the back. Camera's out. My manager replied, he shouldn't have access. Stay locked in. Don't make noise. Then came the footsteps. Rubber soles on low pile carpet. Not rushing. Measured. Each step paused at a new door. He reached mine. The handle turned. Once. Twice. Then stopped. I held my breath and kept both hands pressed to the floor. My legs were shaking now, muscles burning from tension. The handle clicked again. Then came the sound I hadn't expected. A light metal scratch. Slow, steady, at the lock. Not forcing. Testing. That's when the smell hit me. Faint citrus. The same cleaning solution from earlier. Too strong. Too recent. He'd wiped things down. That wasn't a visit. It was preparation. The lock turned again. This time, with intent. The door opened a few inches, just enough for me to see his face. Mid-30s, shaved head, no name tag, no company logo. His expression was calm, almost professional. He met my eyes, then pressed his shoulder against the door to force it open wider. I grabbed the nearest object, a metal hole punch from the desk, and swung it hard. It hit his forearm with a solid crack and clattered to the floor. He barely flinched. He stepped in fully and shut the door behind him. We were in darkness, lit only by the faint glow from a monitor's sleep light. Fear went quiet inside me. Everything narrowed to angles, distance, weight. He moved like he'd done this before. No words. No panic. His hands were bare. His jeans were damp at the cuffs, like he'd walked through wet grass. I backed up until I hit the desk. He reached for me, casual, like clocking in. I tried to sidestep, but he blocked it easily with his body. We struggled. My hand found the edge of the desk. Something cracked. I don't know if it was plastic or bone. The siren from the alarm bar outside began to wail. Someone had triggered it. Voices in the hallway. Fast footsteps. The man turned his head slightly. I felt a hand grab my arm, not his. Another voice shouted my name. The man slipped away, disappearing back into the hall before I could see which direction. But I could smell the citrus he left behind. After that night, everything became a case file. Security logs, badge activity, alarm triggers. I walked investigators through timelines, emails, screenshots. They asked for the cardboard wedge I found. I didn't know if anyone had saved it. They said whoever he was, he knew exactly how our system worked, where to push, when to wait. The cameras he disabled were all in strategic blind spots. They think he had an old contractor badge, expired but still responsive at some readers. Just enough to slip past suspicion. No prints, no ID. No one saw his face clearly, but me. My company issued a building-wide reminder the next morning. New policies, new locks, mandatory retraining on after-hours protocol. My face showed up in the presentation slides. I changed my routine. Never worked late again. Never alone. Even during the day, I kept my office lights bright and my back to a wall. Still, 2 weeks later, while clearing out a shared supply closet, I found a badge left dangling from the inside handle. White lanyard. No name. No department. Just a blank plastic card that didn't scan. I turned it into security. They never figured out whose it was, and I still wonder what would have happened if I'd ignored the cardboard, if I hadn't pulled the alarm, if the other voice hadn't come in time. Some rules are written for lawsuits. Others are written in fear. Now, every time I badge into a room, I wait for the beep, not for the green light. Just to know I'm still the one inside.